Well, hi everybody, I'm back to do the Daredevil Born Again episode 4 review and spoilers. No action apart from one slap. Yes, Bob. Yeah, well, anyway, I'll get on with it. So, starts off where you see White Tiger's stuff being bagged up for evidence and all that, and then Matt asks the forensic dude, says how he died and that, and forensic dude says he was shot in the head, point blank, but they didn't retrieve the bullet or the casing. I don't think they received the bullet. I think it went straight through his head. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but definitely though, the casing to the bullet hasn't been found. Well, then White Tiger's niece, Angela, walks in and she's asking to see White Tiger, but he's had his head half blown off, so Matt says it's best off to remember him as he was and that. And then he sort of like takes her away, sort of thing, to like calm her down. Where she goes on about the cops killed White Tiger, and she says that like they hated him and that. Matt says they don't know. He's not wanting to like get to go on a like vigilante cop killing spree. So he's saying that the evidence ain't out there. They don't know exactly who killed White Tiger yet. And she says that she hates the city and that. Matt says someone will find White Tiger's killer and that. Tries to reassure her of the justice system. Then you see this dude. Now I haven't seen episode 5 yet, and so I don't know who he is, and I haven't read up on who he would be and that, and I don't recognise him and that, and so I don't know if he's a new sort of villain created for the series or he's existing character. But anyway, he's carrying a dude. Look promising and that, but spoilers, nothing happens till right at the end, and nothing really happens. But anyway, so you see him carrying a dude down a subway, sort of train tracks and that. Then you see a barmaid, and she's doing some drinks and that. Like you see, the drinks are for Fisky's young PR dude who's with the reporter friend and that. And she wants to party all night long, but he doesn't. He wants to go home for an early night because he's got he's got work in morning. Well, um, she sort of like convinces him in the end because spoilers, right? They get a taxi and that, and she says, "Come on, let's make the fucking party last all night." And they do, and he opens his mouth and that, which you find out later that like, oh yeah, he should have gone home for an early night and kept his mouth shut. And then you see these two cops, and they're eating some cereals which they've got off this shoplifter dude and that because they've caught him in that. And the a bit sort of like, should we be eating this evidence? But one of them says, oh yeah, it's okay because we've still got enough evidence to charge him, so we can have a box of cereals. Well, then Matt talks to Foggy 2 about a case he's going to be taking. Spoilers, it's the shoplifter dude. Then if there's one thing that I'm not too impressed with in superhero films or TV series is marriage council thing. When when did Superman and Lois Lane have marriage counselling? When did Spider Man and just say like Peter Parker and Mary Jane it's Fisk, but anyway, talking about the affair Mrs. Fisk had and that, and then Fisk he admits to talking to Mrs. Fisk's lover and that, but they both say that they don't know where he is and they haven't seen him, sort of thing. Which, spoilers, Fisk is not telling the truth. But you don't know this and that because he's doing a very good um, acting of he doesn't know. And then, this is where I'm thinking, Daredevil Born Again is probably not going to be as exciting and masculine as the other Daredevil because two women start talking. I always get a bit worried when this happens, and it was just the counsellor wants to know if Fisk's batting her Mrs. Fisk around, which if you know anything about Mr. Fisk, if he was battering around, she'd probably have a few bruises to show. But anyway, she says no. He's not battering her around and that. And then Matt, he finds his new client, the shoplifter dude, in the cells and that. And the client, he mocks having a blind dude for his lawyer. And that where Matt, he's probably heard it before, hasn't he? So he sort of laughs it off. Then, this is a bit like, alright. Matt, he's talking to his client, says he was arrested for shoplifting and that, stealing goods and that. Where the client dude, he says he did not do it. But Matt says the CCTV got him doing the theft. Now I thought, maybe they're doing AI deep fakes to frame him. But no, it turns out he did do it anyway because he admits it, sort of thing. And Matt's also saying not only got CCTV of him doing the theft, the shop counter worker says she will like testify for it and that. So yeah, he's really screwed in that sort of situation. Then he says he paid for the items last week, which Matt says like it doesn't work like that. When you pay for an item, you either pick it up or you'll have a receipt or something to show that you have paid. But anyway, he says about cops eating the 2 packets that like they had when they arrested the dude. But Matt says like the dude's got an arrest sheet or a criminal record, really long and that. So his testament against the cops eating some cereal isn't really gonna be the greatest case of the century. But anyway, he says why Matt and the court got to bring up his criminal record, which you'll find if you're in court, that is going to get brought up. That's the first thing that gets brought up if you get in court is your past arrest record, sort of thing. But anyway, Matt says he will not make bail with the judge with that record and that, and tells him to take a guilty plea. But the dude is not wanting to do that, and he says that Matt needs to get him probation, no jail time, just a bit of like, oh yeah, once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending. Or it could be every day, but depending on like the severity of the crime, it'd be just a visit to someone to tell them how they're going. Well, Matt talks to the prosecuting lawyer in that, and he asks her in that to settle for probation for his client, but she says no and that. And Matt says his client is a lost case and no hope, down on his luck and that. So tries to like give her the sub story. Well, she goes down to 20 days of carceration, so 20 days in prison or cells or whatever, jail. But Matt still pushes for that probation and that. But he goes to where he'll accept 2 weeks and that. Cells or jail for his client. And to be nice, she offers him 10 days and then Matt accepts and that. Then Matt sees or hears or smells, depending on like how he noticed, but because like he is talking on the phone, so he could have heard his voice and that. But Officer Powell, the cop from the subway train platform incident and that, and he says hello and that. Then Matt starts to wind up Officer Powell by saying like him and his mates killed White Tiger because he made them look bad, made them look like a bunch of no hopers that can't arrest anyone apart from low life criminals that like are doing shoplifting. But anyway, well, this really gets Officer Powell upset and that. So he slams Matt to the wall and he says he is like a third or fourth generation cop, as in like his dad was a cop, his dad's dad was a cop, his dad's dad was a cop, sort of thing. And he's a cop. And most of his family are cops and all. Says they did not kill White Tiger and that, and says that Matt is what was interfering. He brings up that where he said, "Oh yeah, you was interfering with that case and that," and he should tell the court system or his cop mates about Matt's handling of that case where he went and beat up him and his mate, and so like yeah, he's so upset with that. Well, Matt says that if he tells his cop mates and that, and this is like probably the best sort of like masculine action bit in this episode anyway. Matt says, if you're going to tell your mates, you better bring more mates than you did last time because there was only like one other mate in that. And so, yeah, he's reminding him that, like, yeah, he got his ass whooped last time. And if he wants to go for round two, he needs to bring more friends to help him. Which is like, yeah, masculine that. But, yeah, because there's no physical masculine action in this episode anyway. So, then it's Fisk and his public relations team have a discussion about New York's industry and that, where the PR team says like, yeah, it's crap and run down and that. Well, then Fisk, he argues about like, yeah, it is run down, but we can make it good again. And he shows them a model of what he wants the docks to look like when they're rebuilt up and that. Give them a bit of a um, build makeover and that. So, um, the PR bear though, she says like about the red tape and that is gonna take a while for it to get done, and that where Fisk he's not wanting the red tape shit. He's like, no, just let's get it done. But um, he has to like admit though that like yeah, he has to go through them red tape sort of first steps to the construction of the docks and that. So she says like they've got to put it to a public office sort of like vote and that or docket for the go ahead. Sort of like I think it's where they ask the people who live around the docks and that if they want it happening and that. And so like if they say yeah, then it gets done. But if they say no, then it won't. But so anyway, then the like Baird and the young dude they leave, and then the PR dude says to like Fisk about the families will destroy the docks, or one of the families will win the like family war, and they'll become top dog in that, or if they all die. But anyway, he's saying that the families need to be calmed down before the docks get like fixed, sort of thing. And then Matt tells he's called Leroy, the shoplifter dude, that he's got 10 days and like he'll only have to do 7 days because the weekends and he's got like a day in jail and that. So, well, Leroy is angry about the probation and that, not getting probation, but Matt says like it's the best he's gonna get and that. Then Leroy gives a sob story to Matt about like how like he admits to shoplifting because he says it, it was one of them where he wanted to eat some nice cereals. So he's like, oh, all this. Well, anyway, after he admits to this and that, he says like he's not really bothered about probation, which considering like you've just admitted to doing the crime, then yeah, do your time. Well, then Fisk is at a school sort of like meet and greet where he's listening to the kids doing an a cappella cover of "We Built This City on Rock and Roll" by Starship and that. And it's not great because it's like kids in it. They're not like um, special singing kids that are like trained in singing. Now, just normal kids. So yeah, well, whilst this is going on, the young dude, PR dude, shows the PR Baird an article that's like what he's responsible for by like talking to that reporter Baird, and the PR Baird says she'll handle it in that as she was doing the public relations job before him and Fisk, and she'll be doing it after him and Fisk, and tells him to keep his mouth shut about it. Well, because of the situation and that, because they're calling Fisk a union buster and that. She shows him the article and that and tells him like, yeah, he's got to like sort this shit out, sort of thing. You know, it's like one of them where bad PR in it. Well, this angers Fisk and that, and he's starts like talking about it, how he's wanting to call for a hands-on meeting with all the staff where he can like discuss it, and then he has to go to like this sort of Latvian meet and Greek sort of thing where they're singing "Built This City" um, with rock and roll, but in Latvian and that. Then he gets to the office and Fisk starts kicking off about who's ever leaks the information about him wanting to like take down the unions and that. Well, the young dude, he admits to being the leak and that. Says about how he was out of his head and that, and he was just talking to his reporter bed and that. Well, Fisk orders everyone out, and Fisk goes out, and then he tells like how he was out of his head and that. Well, the bed, she also says that she knew it was him because he just told her and that. So she's admitting like, yeah, she knew it was him, but she wasn't going to grass him up and that. Well, the young PR dude says like Fisk should fire him and that, but Fisk says like he won't fire them and that. But if the young dude does it again, it'll be the last thing he does. And if he understands what he's talking about, which basically Fisk, I think he's saying, I will kill you if you ever try and mess up my PR relations like that. And so the young dude, he understands and he's like, yeah, yeah. Then you see where White Tiger was executed and that by the show, you like White Tiger sort of thing. And then it goes to where Matt's standing at the crime scene and that. And he hears a bike knock, rather, it's a coin or a bottle cap. Now, I think it's a bottle cap because you see where Matt hears this and he knocks a bottle that rolls down the hill, sort of like, and as it's rolling down, it lands in this drain off gutter sort of thing, where Matt goes down and puts his hand in the gutter in that, where he gets a bullet shell out of there, and with the bullet shell, it goes to this underground building where he goes inside a room and he knows someone's there, and then all of a sudden this dude comes out to attack Matt and that. Well, Matt tells the dude to like stop and that. It's only him and that. It's me, it's Double D sort of thing. Well, as you can see, dude turns out to be like Frank Castle, the Punisher, where then like Frank asks what Matt wants and that, where Matt says his client was killed and that, and then shows him like the bullet as the Punisher logo on the casing. So like Frank says it's got nothing to do with him. He says like it must be one of these fanboys. Um, and Matt thinks he talk about the cops and that. And then Matt winds up Frank saying he should help people, but Frank is not happy with this suggestion and that. Says he doesn't want to be a candy ass superhero like Matt, because Matt don't kill people where Punisher does. So, well, Matt says okay and goes to leave, but Frank says Matt don't need his help, because Matt said he was wanting his help, but he wants his permission to like kill people, as in he wants to see if Frank, because Frank's got a code sort of thing. Well, Matt disagrees in that, and then Frank starts to wind up Matt about how he let it. I thought he was talking about his client, but if it turns out to be Foggy, I think, like White Tiger, I thought. But anyway, both sort of thing. How got killed in that. Well, Matt says it's not about his client or Foggy, that he's not taking it personal. But Frank tells him to say his name until here's that slap, that the only bit of physical action in this episode was that Matt slaps Frank for like winding him up and that, but immediately apologises about doing that. But Frank's not too bothered. He's had worse. He like knew he was winding up Matt for the slap sort of thing. Well, Matt starts to like say how Foggy was a good man and better than him and Frank sort of thing, and then leaves. Well, yeah, he says how he really cared for Foggy and that, and just he's probably still feeling it and that. And so yeah, then he leaves and that. Like, well, then Mr. and Mrs. Fisk talk about the marriage. Then this is where it's turned into like a chick flick, because then Matt goes to his sort of bird's house or whatever and that, and like shags her, because after he shagged her and that, he sort of like is still awake and that, where he gets up sort of thing and that, and then it goes to a clip where you see Fisk, where he's walking down some stairs. Then you see Matt on the rooftop and that, doing a bit of training. Then you see Mrs. Fisk's lover, Adam. He's locked in a prison cell and that, and I think it's a private prison cell that like Fisk has got from somewhere, and Fisk is eating like as this dude's like fucking just locked in there. And it's a full course meal and all. Like, yeah, he's gone really like full on. Oh yeah, I'm eating all this good food whilst you're in there, locked away. And I think he's probably starving him on bread and water. You know, one of them. Well, then you see Matt training on the rooftop still, and he's got his caned batons, and he's throwing them around, throws them at the camera to like do a finish move. And I thought it was over, but no. Then you see like the dude who was carrying the dude on his shoulder, walking into like this place where he's got underground, where he ties up the dude, and you hear a scream where he's probably torturing him, and that's where it ends. Right, yeah. So another episode where all talky, one slap, and that was it. But I'll be having to review 5, 6 and that. So thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.